Hello YouTube, Trinity here once again, giving you another deck profile for today. We have my RagnaLoardmon deck profile for the current format. This hasn't really been updated since EX06, but I have been testing around with different stuff, and this is the build that's worked best for me. And it's one of the decks I've really enjoyed, and recently just double sleeped it up. And with that being said, let's get on with the deck profile. We'll start with the eggs this time, trying different ways to do the profile. Let me know in the comments what you guys think is best. I'm still new to this, just doing this for fun, to share all my many decks once again. We'll start with the egg, which I think is the best egg for the deck, and I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to do my best. Oh, that's a hard one. Kakaimon. I don't actually know. I know Digimon names pretty well, but not sorry, I don't know the Legend Arm names that much, at least the rookies. I've struggled with that, or the babies, I mean. But yeah, his inheritable effect is start of main. You return a Digimon from the sources to your hand and gain 1 memory. And basically, it lets you cycle with these newer RagnaLord Legend Arm cards by placing them in the sources and kind of plays the cost for them. It lets you refund them back to your hand. And I also like that you can infinitely recycle your rookies with it, which is something I like. With that being said, we'll move on to the main deck. I have 3 copies of RagnaLoardmon Ace. Now, I bought the old art because it's only $3 more than the regular, so I didn't really see a reason not to buy the old art here. And, yeah, we got the RagnaLoardmon Ace here, one of my favorite cards. This deck lives and dies by its level 7, and it is a very bricky deck, so if you don't see the level 7, you're most likely not winning. But its hand is Blast Jawgrass. Place one of the specified cards from your hand to its sources, and you can DNA Digivolve during your opponent's turn. And then it has Raid, Reboot. It also has on play when Digivolving trash top security. Then if you DNA'd, basically it's unaffected, or it's unaffected to the end of turn. And if you DNA, Digivolve 1 of all your opponent's Digimon. So it's a really strong card. Only problem being that you have to get into him. You could always hard play him if you want, because he is unaffected for a turn. And he trashes security, so that's something you can do. It doesn't always happen, but I've seen players do that sometimes just in a pickle. Then I run 2 copies of the old RagnaLoardmon from BT3. He's essentially just a free Digivolve, and he has security attack +1 and reboot, so he's a 14k that it's free to evolve into. So I don't really go into him too often, but I think he's better than the old Jawgrass for the deck, and just having that RagnaLoardmon is just really nice. And with that, I'm going to move on to the level 6s. I run 3 of the starter deck RagnaLoardmon. I like this one a lot more than the new one. I like the new one for its inheritable, but just having him be more immune is just one thing I really like. And I like to put the newer one underneath him when I can. And then we'll move on to the new one, which is a new copy of RagnaLoardmon. Again, they both have similar inheritables. I like that this one lets me go wide more a little bit and can kind of make his effect work when I play the level 4s and level 3s for it. But both are really good, and I think RagnaLoardmon is the one you want to go into, and I think Durandamon is the one you want to put from hand most of the time. Alright, with that being said, we'll move on to our other level 6 for the Jawgrass. We have the sword, that's the shield, so we have the sword himself, Durandamon. This is the newer one from EX6. It has Raid and Piercing. And one of your Digimon may attack when Digivolving. It also gives effect by paying 3 cost. And yeah, and then we have one of the starter deck, Durandamon, which I like to play because 3 cost to evolve into, and he has security attack +1, and I just really like having him as an option. And that is it for our level 6s, so it's a 5-4 split. We'll move on to our level 5s, which this is the best one in the deck in my opinion. RagnaLoardmon forces the Digimon to attack by putting him in the sources. He gives protection. He also has reboot and blocker when a card is placed underneath him, I believe. So that is it for the, well, that's not it for level 5, but that's it for that one. I played 3 copies of EX6 Durandamon and 1 Jazardmon. Now, Jazardmon is just there for a little bit more Digivolve and to have a redirect effect. And because it can Digivolve on red and black, it's just a thing I saw with some Japanese meta lists running it. I tried it out, and I really liked it as a one of. This list is very similar to one that topped, I believe, in EX6, or one of the last few topping lists for Ragna. Although I did change some of the ratios around to more so what I prefer. But it's very close to one of the topping lists on Digimon card dev, or card meta. Next, for the level 4s, I run 2 RagnaLoardmons, the start deck one, for the on play. to combo with the RagnaLoardmon, and because it's inheritable is really good. And just to have another black card in the deck for search. You could run the older one that devolves, but I was running as a one of, but I dropped it because it just never came up really, and RagnaLoardmon was better. Next, we're running 4 copies of the new Tyludo and 4 copies of Super Eager. Again, you could drop this one to 3 copies and run the other Tyludomon. It never came up for me, and I just like having the ones that go into sources that have more utility. And I like the fact that he's a plus 2k during my turn, and this one's during the opponent's turn. I just like these new ones a lot more. You could run a 1-up split if you really want to. I would suggest dropping this or this, and just running the 4-cost, 1-cost, devolve inheritable if you're level 7. It's just, I felt like it was just too inconsistent personally. I think it's a good card. It's just too inconsistent for me. It never came up, and when it did, it just didn't matter that much. The game already snowballed. Next, I'm running 3 copies of the new Ludomon in the deck. This card is when a card's placed underneath it, draw, and then you can basically give something, I believe, 2k until the end of their turn. Then we run 4 copies of this one to combo with RagnaLoardmon. And it's a searcher, and it gives blocker again. So that's for the Ludomons. We're running 2 copies of the new Zubamon. It gives 2k during your turn, a same effect here, and then it gives 2k during your turn. I think the Ludomon is personally a little better, but I do like Zubamon. You could run the promo. I just don't think it's worth it in this version anymore, and I didn't want to spend the money, and I know it got reprinted, but I don't really want it anymore. I feel like the new stuff kind of took its spot, ironically. Next, we run 3 Spartamons. Again, just another Digivolve. When it plays in sources, draw, and then like on play, draw, trash 1 to draw 2. And honestly, I don't remember it's inheritable. When you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3,000 or less. Okay, so it deletes Floodgates. That's all I needed to know on that. Moving on, we're running 4 copies of Black Memory Boost. This is going to become Garnet Memory Boost in the future, but right now it's Black Memory Boost. We're running more black than we are red, so right now we're running 4 copies of Black Memory Boost until English gets access to Garnet Memory Boost. So don't expect an update until we get more copies of RagnaLoardmon support. And then finally, our last card in the deck, 2 copies of Crimson Blaze. Screw those Leviamon players and all the other decks that like to play by effects. And it's come to my attention that this one is slightly bent. I need to get a larger deck box. But yeah, that being said, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. It is one of my favorite fun decks. I built this for my friend because he didn't have the money to update his deck due to some personal issues. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. Ciao.